I'm not Jesus, so I'm not, before any Christians have a go at me for that, I am not saying I'm Jesus.
And the other one was something else who had a rivalry, and he didn't want that in our house. He wanted symbiotic love and
It's surrounded by water, and that is
mm,
such a key conductor in paranormal and spiritual.
yes.
Absolutely.
A very different state, and that creates a block. And then you've got all these people together that's creating a block because of the different energies, and we don't know how we're going to work together. So
Special guest, we share the flame. Through every word we claim our name.
Hey sparklers, how are we doing? So I have a few more guests than what I usually do with me today. So this is going to be a really exciting one. I'm really excited. We've had a 40-minute chat. I've got to know the girls really well. And I'm sure you guys recognize Andrea from my paranormal podcast. So if you don't know me and you are new around here, I am Empress Sparkle. I am hopefully bringing you out of the darkness and into the light. And I am also witch, clairvoyant, Hellenic pagan, as well as I see souls. So, Andrea, would you mind introducing everyone for us?
absolutely, and thank you so much again for having us on. It's always a delight. Um, I'm Andrea. I'm the founder and lead investigator of Unearthing Shadows Paranormal, and I'll just go in order of how I'm seeing everybody on the screen. To my right, I guess, is Angela, and she's one of our investigators, and she does a lot of like the analyzing. And then to my bottom left is Lorianne. She's our apparently I can't speak today. Our researcher, investigator, and ops manager. And then to my bottom right is Jen. Jen's our one of our senior investigators, and she's been with the team since it started. And essentially, what we do is we document the paranormal, we research the paranormal, we do private and public investigations, and really our intent is just to help people, and sometimes we do it for fun. So
Well, there's nothing more fun than the paranormal because they like to have fun with us.
we love it.
So this is what, as I was explaining before, and you guys are most probably think, second podcast about paranormal on a spiritual podcast. As I keep saying to you guys, the paranormal and spiritual, the line is thinner than the veil. It is a lot of thinner. So one of the things I would love to ask you guys, especially around our chat, is sort of like, since paranormal investigating, has your beliefs changed at all? Like, were you complete skeptics before and now sort of believe in the afterlife, or were they're still the same?
well, for
Whoever.
myself, excuse me, hi, I'm Angie. Um, I know I had mentioned before I've always been a skeptic who wanted to believe. And I have to say that being working with the girls on Unearthing Shadows has definitely brought me into more of a believing, but I'm definitely looking for the truth. Um, and all I can think about is my grandpa right now, actually. And I do know that he's with me. So he's making me laugh. And so this is why I have definitely come a long way since the beginning of being with the girls. So,
Mhm.
uh, Whoever wants to go first, that's lovelies. If you want to add anything.
I, I will say, so my background, I was raised Christian, Catholic Christian, and so spirituality was always a part of my life and family life growing up as a child, and I was around it. It was more of a ritualistic sort of practice, ceremonial. And so, I could recite the whole mass from start to finish for the majority of that. And so spirituality was always communicated and discussed. But as I grew up and had personal experiences and stuff, the word spirituality has sort of evolved, and I don't know if I would define it in a specific way, such as a specific religion. And I don't know, I don't really like the idea of having to label what spirituality is. My belief has evolved over time and through these experiences doing paranormal investigations as well. And so I'm definitely a spiritual person, and I know that energy and light and spirit, however you want to call it, universe, God, whatever label you want to put on it. I don't necessarily feel I need to put a label on it, but it's evolved to a better place that really resonates with me, and um, regardless of what you believe, I believe I believe we all have a soul. We all are part of something greater in the universe. And whether that be here on our time on Earth, whether that was prior to conception, or even after our passing in this life. And there's no limits to it. There's no beginning, there's no end. It just always is and always was and always will be. Um, and I can go on a deep end about like different tangents, like even if we think about outside of Earth, there could be alien life, there could be other planets similar that have energies and that. So yeah, so it's evolved from the Catholic upbringings, but I've always been a spiritual person, and the evolution of my understanding and belief in that has been really such a beautiful journey for me. And so yeah, so it has changed, it has evolved significantly.
Well, I think it does. Once you step your foot into the paranormal and you start understanding the paranormal, I think it just expands into so much. Lorianne or Andrea, do you want to add anything, my lovelies?
Do you want to go
Uh,
first?
sure. Um, so growing up as a child, like Jen, I grew up in a I wouldn't say strict, but Lutheran family. We went to church every Sunday. I went to Sunday school. I was confirmed. All the basic traditions of that religion. But during those moments, there were coincidences, which I just chalked up to being enthralled with Jesus and all of Christianity. But it was just odd. There were odd things happening around me. And I think that's when I, I was also seeing energies and everything and just thought it was all directed from that source, the Christian source. So all of a sudden, as I was growing up, I actually stepped away from that. And then I got into schools, archaeology, Bachelor of Fine Arts. I'm an artist, and all these creative and mind. Like there was this weird dichotomy that was starting to happen in me. And then as Andrea would send me, when she started her group, I wasn't officially a part of the group, but she would send me stuff on, can you research this? Can you find this or whatever? Things started to be triggered. And then I was really questioning things around me, and coincidences started happening more frequently, and just signs. And I just passed it off. And then when I officially met the group was when it just opened up the can, so to speak, and all these things started rushing in. And the abilities that I had, it was quite intense, powerful moments for me. So I went from being a child that was brought up in a Christian religion, but also knowing there was something else going on, but couldn't figure that out because I was a child, to stepping away from everything and then being thrown back into it. And I believe that we do have energies around us, and that we always are walking and on the same journey towards the whatever that.
Home, almost home. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily see it that way, but I just believe we're all on the same journey, and we're all on parallel paths, and we can't judge anybody on what path they're on, even if it doesn't suit our own mental state or what we choose to believe in. So I hope that all makes sense.
No, it does, because judgment is actually the thing that blackens our soul quicker.
Yeah.
Because it links with fear, believe it or not. Andrea, my lovely.
Well, I've always been like, I mean, I've always been a believer just because, I was that weird kid that had stuff happen to me, and then I've always been a healthy skeptic. So like doing this there's definitely been things that either have secured my beliefs or maybe not believe in things as much, or even vice versa, things I didn't believe in. I'm like, oh, okay, these things do exist. But yeah, overall, I'm just trying to think of a couple good examples. Like, I think one way it's changed me is like you definitely recognize there are things to be fearful of, but once you understand what those things are, it actually has taken away some of that fear. Um, and something I didn't maybe believe in before was I was always skeptical on possessions or just the way they were described. But when I actually finally saw one to that degree, that was a very, I mean, not that I ever think possessions are a good thing, but they're not always a negative spirit. But when you see that happen, then you you can't really deny it, even though you may have had pretty strong beliefs before that those things don't exist. So that's there's been a lot of eye openers and supportive things on both ends of the stick about this.
Oh, yes. I completely get that. So I'll explain something I don't think I've actually even told Andrea about my autistic daughter. So my eldest daughter is severely autistic. And one day she come down to me and she was just like, Mum, you do realize that every God is real. And I looked at her and I was like, what do you mean every God is real? She went, there's one God. She says, and to you as a Hellenic pagan, you call it chaos. Christians call it God. Muslims call it Allah. She says, Koreans call it Shin. And I was like, right, okay, where are we going with this? I'm really cruel to her. I'm like, where are we going with this? Because otherwise she'll stand down naming them all. And she goes, well, they all tell us the same stories. So there's definitely only one God because every nation has the same stories, which we do, even as Hellenic, the myths are similar to the Christian Bible. So I'm like, yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, baby girl. She went, so there's one. She says, and that's the main energy of the universe. Whatever it was that caused the Big Bang. And I sit there and I'm looking at her going, she was 7 at this time. And I'm sat there going, you can sort of see why she's called Minnie Sheldon. So I sat there and I looked at her and I went, all right, Minnie Sheldon. And I went, come on then, what's the rest of it? And she went, well, when you think about it, it makes sense. Because what else? We're run by electric. What's the electric in us running us? The energy given to us from this universe. And I'm like, sort of going, right, okay. So just to sort of explain where I am, I need a label. As you said, Jennifer, I actually need a label. That is why I class myself as Hellenic pagan, which is one of the oldest religions other than the East Asian. But that is sort of a bit, I don't want to say they gatekeep it, but I'm respectful to the fact that's theirs, if that makes sense. So Hellenic pagan is the next sort of eldest. So I literally, because I need a title, that is it. That is why I worship him. Zeus is okay with that. Chaos is okay with that. They're like, as long as you give us your energy, we do not care. So I love the fact that you've sort of like all said that you're all on a similar path to what. I'll hold my hands up. My daughter got there a lot quicker than the rest of us. What my 7-year-old daughter, when she was 7, she's now 20. When she was 7, so I thought I should explain that a little bit because I think that would help you guys to understand it. And the reason why I don't call it cosmic energy or the universe, and I actually do give it a title of gods, is because the way I see it is these energies are sort of like a corporate business. So you've got your main energy and then you've got your little energies coming off. And that's when we get our spirit guides and our gods and goddesses, which help guide us. So I thought
Right. It's interesting though that like when a lot of us are brought up though, like in predominantly a Christian thing is like, I believe in that very much. Like there is a higher entity and I don't like labeling that, but I do believe in the other gods and that there is a bit more. But it's funny that even though you have this awareness and understanding, you still kind of feel guilty and be like, oh God, don't be upset that I believe in all this stuff when you know that they still are all working together. But it is interesting. But
I think it's that. So for me, fortunately, the last 7 years, like we still celebrate Christmas, but I actually find it a struggle to celebrate Christmas because why am I celebrating this bloke's birthday? Like he wasn't special. He had the same gifts as me.
Mm,
Like he wasn't special. He drained when he was touched by someone that needed healing. I'm drained. I could tell you the future like Jesus could. I'm not
mhm.
Jesus, so I'm not, before any Christians have a go at me for that, I am not saying I'm Jesus. But I'm just sort of exampling the fact that we had the same gifts given to us by this energy force. We're blessed with it. And I think though, when we're brought up Christian, because it's very anti these gifts, it's very anti the paranormal, it's very anti everything, if I'm honest. Because we are brought up in that, we've still got that bit in us that we have to ask for forgiveness from them. Because that is one thing we heard in church every Sunday, wasn't it? You must ask God for forgiveness. You must
Mhm,
ask Jesus for forgiveness.
mhm,
Do you know the
mhm.
only person that can forgive you and truly forgive you is you?
Yeah.
That is the only person you have to ask for forgiveness. Sorry, that got a bit deep, didn't it?
That's great.
It's
but I think
interesting. I'm going to just put a thought out there and potentially play a little devil's advocate because, we mentioned this earlier off camera, off recording, but my family being devout Catholics, but also my grandfather from the UK was a very academic man, and he was a very prominent um, doctor and director of a hospital. He also was a well-known astronomer and, very well in the scientific community and very science and fact-based, but also incredibly spiritual. So he had this interesting meld of these both sides. And still, in spite of his religious beliefs, it sort of contradicts what you said a little bit about um, Christianity. I'll use that as an example because that's sort of my background and experience, being against the paranormal, because um, he was very much interested and believed in the paranormal as well. So it's interesting. I think there's a spectrum of people, as there is, and that's again, I know not everyone agrees, but that's again why I sort of like to shy away from labels, because I went to a Catholic retreat when I was, in my impressional years, trying to figure out what my spirituality and my beliefs were. And it was a Catholic retreat where the Pope, I believe it's called World Youth Day, but I could have that wrong. And the Pope was in Toronto, Canada. And so a group of us went to this convention, I guess we'll call it. And there were tables set up almost like craft fair style with groups of people all claiming to be Catholic. And they were giving out pamphlets and discussing things. And one table handed out pamphlets that basically forewarned, don't hold hands of someone from the opposite sex because that leads to temptation and that leads to wanting to explore sexual devious thoughts. And it was very sort of that archaic, like fear and doom and gloom. And they were handing out this pamphlet to me, and of course I just kind of rolled my eyes and thanked them and walked on. And then further down another table, also Catholics, were handing out condoms and saying, the Lord Jesus wants us to love everyone. He wants us to enjoy the pleasures and the fruits of being here on this earth and make love and share your love and everything. And it's such an extreme. There's such a spectrum. And it was interesting to see everyone claiming to be the same religion, everyone being there for the same purpose to experience this and the spectrum of it. So I wonder, I think that's why, again, the labeling thing, I still can't quite buy into. And of
I
course we do it.
I think myself personally, so actually I can actually speak for most people, I think here, it's your interpretation of the Bible. So
Absolutely.
here in the UK, we go by the King James the First slash sixth Bible. Here in the UK, that is the one we're meant to read. In that it says you shall not deal with a medium. You shall not speak to someone that speaks to spirits because they
Mhm.
are the devil. So technically I'm the devil. So it is written
Nice
in
to
the
meet you.
Bible. Hey. Um, and this is the thing. So I think it very much goes on what Bible you read, because I do know the Catholic Bible is slightly different.
Hmm.
So people like me in Catholicism are actually seen as saints. So it
Mm.
is slightly different. So you've got like Joan of Arc, who's a saint,
Yes,
Saint
yes,
Nicholas, all of them could speak to the dead. Jesus speak to the dead. So you had ones which were prophets or saints, is the way I'm going to word it
right.
actually. Um, but for me, it does very much depend on your interpretation
Hmm.
of the
Absolutely.
Bible. Eh,
I believe that too. Yeah.
And also, we need to remember that there is over 4 million copies of the Bible. Each of them are wrote very different because it is the only book that doesn't have copyright. So it's easy to sell and people are flogging it at easy money.
Wow.
Interesting. Hmm.
I'm your useless whatever they're called, them big thick books. I've got so many useless facts in me.
Yeah.
Everyone's gonna, I bet after this podcast, everyone's gonna be on Amazon going, blimey, how many different copies is that? Every church has about 10 different copies, like
Mhm.
alone, just the church, let alone the other people which have realized they can monetize on it.
Mhm.
The only one that wasn't ever monetized on was actually King James the First, and that's when he
Mm.
first wrote it because he wanted the whole of the population to understand God's word, as he put it,
Mm.
which that wasn't even written by him, it was just overchecked.
Mm.
I'm putting out spoilers here, aren't I, to these Bibles?
Yeah.
No,
Well, this
it's
is
very
great for me.
fascinating.
I think that's my problem. I am a person of knowledge. Give me some form of knowledge. I am literally there reading knowledge. I love every ounce. That is where I think, Jennifer, to be honest, me and your granddad would have gone. Because
Hmm.
literally, I love knowledge. I am here to learn. And I think that's actually one thing that I love about what you four are doing is every time you go into these places, you're learning more, not just about spirituality, but about yourselves.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a key point too, with like tying into this discussion. Like, it's important to have like the knowledge that's been passed down, different to consider the versions of it, but also to have our own experiences. I think that really is kind of, in my opinion, the magic recipe of you need both.
Hmm.
Religion, for me personally, isn't meant to be something written down. It's not meant to be something that's told to you how to act, how to behave, what to do. It is a guide. And I think this is one of the things that does frustrate me about religion. Is it's come, I know I'm going to get people coming for me for what I'm saying today. It's come a cult.
Mm.
I agree.
And there's three main religions which have come a cult, and that's Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. They've just come a cult, and they're to tell you how you can live. Whereas I'm sure what you four have found on your paranormal journey is it's your own journey. Um, so that's
Absolutely.
another thing I'm going to ask lovelies is the fact of, I think it's quite important to ask actually with talking about it being your own journeys, is with it, I don't know how to word it, I'm sort of trying to think. With it being your sort of like own path, do you find that even when you're out investigating? So like L'Oreal may feel something and Andrew actually feels it differently. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we all like there's times where we can at least come together and say, yeah, maybe I've experienced it differently or I'm picking it up a little bit differently, but ultimately, yes, we have all experienced the same things. And there's been times where like, we've definitely disagreed on things, but I think we can still be secure. Like we respect that everybody has a different opinion, might be picking up on different elements. So it's not necessarily that we're disagreeing, but we've experienced it differently, or just that we're confident in being like, well, this is what I experience, and I think we're all a bit open to with we do have quite a balanced approach with like our, I would not say that all of our individual personal beliefs are exactly the same, but we have that respect where at least we can find commonalities, um, and it's based on facts and findings and, knowledge. So that's that's how I find it works well.
Does anyone else want to add anything?
Yeah, I would like to add something. It's part of it is to building on what Andrea said was that sometimes we each have, yes, we pick up on things that maybe the other teammate doesn't. And I know there was one instance, unfortunately, Andrea couldn't come to Vancouver that time. We were with another group, but we were in a cemetery, and I kept going back to a certain area, and I grabbed Ange and I go, "Can you come with me and see if, you're picking up?" I don't know if Ange remembers this.
I
And
do.
she do, okay. And you were looking around and going, "Yeah, yeah." And I go, "Okay, I'm not going crazy. Thank you." But it was just it's great to go to someone, anyone in your team, and get that confirmation, because sometimes I don't, you may not trust in yourself what you're feeling. So when you have bring someone else there, it's really wonderful to go, yeah, okay, so the what is going on here is happening, and I'm on point.
I love that because that is so true. Even me as a clairvoyant, and I know what I'm feeling and seeing. I remember when we went on our first one and I wasn't allowed to cleanse. We did 30 East Drive, which is one of the most famous, and I'm not allowed to cleanse there. So usually I'm going in and I'm going, right, okay, where's the spirit? Right, let's get rid of it. But on my investigations, I'm not allowed to do that. So I literally sat there and I kept going to everyone, can you feel that negative energy just walk in? Like, and everyone's like, you're the clairvoyant. Why are you asking us? I'm like, but you do in them situations, it can bring a lot of self-doubt. So I can understand how it could be reassuring as well with sort of having your team there as well. It's just the reason why I had to ask that is because hubby sort of sometimes experienced it very different to what I did. I feel like Angie wants to say something. I don't know.
Oh, no, actually, sorry, it's from your previous comment about spirituality. I grew up very different from all of you. We did not we did not grow up in a religion. My dad was very much not against. He believed that our house was our castle, our house was our temple. And so that is how we grew up. So I never went to Sunday school. I never went to church. I think I've been in church maybe 10 times throughout my entire life. So I didn't have a sense of spirituality. And it wasn't until I became older and having these kind of uh, paranormal experiences, also meeting my husband, who um, is very well aware of his surroundings, and we would go for walks in nature and just enjoy the the woods and just Mother Earth. So Mother Earth became my spiritual guide. And so yeah, but that didn't happen. So I never had that preconceived notion of what of heaven and earth, or heaven and hell and that kind of stuff. I knew about them, of course, and I always said, "Oh, we're all going to heaven," but I didn't know what that meant. And yeah, so it wasn't until I actually became part of, well, a little bit before being part of the group, and then just having those types of
That's intrigued me.
paranormal.
Sorry, that's intrigued me because there's not a lot within, I don't really want to use this term, but I don't know what else to call it. The British colonies is the way I'm going to word it. I know that's an awful term, but I don't know what else to call it. Um, oh, we now call it the UK, oh, Commonwealth. That's it. That's what we now call it,
Mhm.
isn't it? Commonwealth. That actually speak like that because most of it is brought up on Christianity, like the Church of England is head, we do as they tell us.
Mm.
Wow.
I
That's
I
Yeah.
would say, oh, go Ange.
Sorry, I'm just reiterating the fact that yeah, my dad didn't want to be part of the conflict. I believe I don't even know the proper who they were. I believe my one parent was Presbyterian, and the other one was something else who had a rivalry, and he didn't want that in our house. He wanted symbiotic love, and that's how we
Ooh.
that's how we grew up.
Tell me you have Irish genes without telling me you have Irish genes.
I
Protestant
do.
and Catholic, they're still
Yes,
arguing to
yes.
this
Okay, that's
day.
it. That's it. That's it.
They're still arguing to this day. They still
Yeah.
fight. If you go out into an Irish pub here in the UK, you're in trouble. If you bring up the,
Really?
yeah, don't mention religion at all. Just
Yeah,
in a corner.
I
Yeah.
think that's
So, you know,
I think that's an important thing though to bring up, like with like having these conversations circling around religion, is that I think people forget like there is a distinction between religion and the paranormal, and obviously we do know there's spiritualism isn't always necessarily the same thing as religion, but some people do get those confused. But all these things that are happening that we don't know about, that we consider us in the trade as the paranormal investigators, right? Really has nothing to do with religion. Religion is used as a really a tool to either, if we want to use it to protect us, or as a guide to how we live our lives. But they really are two very, very, very different things that people confuse and label as interconnected, but they're not. They are and they aren't, essentially. But
No, Andrea, brilliant point there, because it's a bit like me. I don't believe in demons. Yeah, I see all these black things that crawl along the floor. I see them crawling up the walls, when I go to these places. And people are like, how do you not believe in demons? And I'm like, well, because the gods and goddesses and daemon, as I call them, are personas. And they're like, what? And I'm like, the personification. So they're not actually that. It is just that's what we put the name on it for. And they look at me like I'm insane. And I'm like, no, I'm like, that's just some evil twat. They were pure evil in their life and they've decided to continue being evil for the rest of their life. They just want to be evil for eternity. So I love the fact you've brought that up because for me personally, a lot of people do struggle with going, well, because I haven't done this right, because in this religion, I'm not going to, and I feel quite, oh, I love the way you've brought that up. Like, I've got so much to say on it, and I'm like, no, because I've not got time to say it all. I just,
I want to say something that Ange said sort of triggered a thought in me that I thought I should bring up too. And maybe it's because we are in Canada and there's a lot of Indigenous influence and history. The lands that we live on are so rich with, you know, generations and generations of beautiful Indigenous history. And I won't claim to be an expert, so I'm just speaking as a white settler in this land. But my understanding is a lot of their spirituality isn't necessarily about an individual being, such as like in the Catholic religion, for example, like God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and then the apostles and the saints and stuff like that. And it's not so much even necessarily a human thing. It's more about I think Angie was saying something about Mother Nature, or, the energies of the land, the energies of the earth. The trees have energy. The animals are our brothers, and and so it's interesting, as you had mentioned, that a lot of it comes from that Bible, a particular Bible. A lot of the spirituality in the UK comes from the King James Bible, and being a Canadian citizen, and my evolution of spirituality, starting with Christianity, but in my experiences and in my encounters with Indigenous people, or the learnings that I've done here, that's also part of the evolution of my spirituality as well. And it's almost like it's just everything is energy. Everything has a soul, a spirit, and any living object, including the plants and the trees and the intricate root systems that they have. And so again, it's just it is all around us. It is us, and it always will be, is sort of my belief. And it's not just necessarily a spirit of a human. It could be an energy of a plant or a tree.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. I love the fact you've brought that up in a way, because I think that's where in the UK we have a massive movement at the minute that everyone's turning towards paganism. And
mm,
paganism was actually the original religion of the
the
Britons,
land.
the old Britons, the Saxons, the Celtic ways and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So I do love the fact you've brought that up, because we can go to castles which were originally Saxon or Viking. Um, oh, a lot of death there. We can go to them places, and you know, I'm sure Lorianne understands this with archaeology and stuff like that. You can feel the energy in them places. You can feel it. So for us, when I say that it's pronification, I always struggle with that word. It's a bit like Mother Gear. So Earth is actually Mother Gear to me.
Hmm.
So if I talk about the earth, I talk about Mother Gaia. If I talk about the underworld, I talk about Hades,
Mm.
which actually, believe it or not, the underworld's not a bad thing, like everyone's told, it's not. If I'm talking to sunlight, so not the sun, but the sunlight, I'm talking to Apollon. So it's sort of
Mm.
like that is where we are as pagans as well, which druids are the same. So they have, even though they have their names for stuff and stuff. So I think this is why a lot of people are turning more back towards the pagan ways. And I know in obviously America, it's sort of like, well, in the Americans is what I'm going to use. I'm going to use the correct term. In Americans, everyone is very cautious because of the indigenous movements and stuff like that. But I think there has to be a bit of respect that we were actually also there. That is where we were, with the ancient Greeks, with the Romans, with the ancient Britons. Don't ask me why they call us Britons instead of British, but when you talk about the ancients, that's what they call us. So I think this is one of the things that, for me, because now people are linking themselves more with their lands,
Yeah.
like, and that doesn't matter where you live, it's whatever land you're in. Like, even paranormal, when you go paranormal investigating, the building has energy itself. And sometimes when we get spirits, they're not even actually there. It is the building. I believe you guys actually have a famous rock, don't you, where they can see spirits and stuff, and it's actually the energy. Is it in Canada?
The only rock I can think of is White Rock, and it certainly does not. But I mean, it's very possible. Like we do have a lot of landmarks, but that's not one that I'm familiar of.
It might
Um,
not be it might not be Canada then. I remember somewhere, it might be Australia actually, now thinking of it. I
Mm.
think it is. They have
Yeah,
that rock and it actually can produce what looks like spirits, isn't it?
I believe
Um,
Mm.
so. Yeah.
Ayers Rock, or is that what we're? No, is that right?
I think
Or
that's it. Yes. Yes. Oh, I knew someone would.
we just and this is all respect to those who live on the lower mainland, but yeah, we just have a big boulder that was painted white, and it's a tourist attraction, and that's really all or how it functions. So that's our claim to fame with big rocks.
See, for me, this shocks me. And please don't take this the wrong way, but the reason it does shock me, um, well, actually, you guys don't have to take it the wrong way. It's them eyes that's going to take it the wrong way. How daft are we as human beings to go and worship a white rock?
Yeah.
It's very daft, very daft.
Like, just go on a hike, worship an actual rock.
Yeah.
Actually, we're pretty lucky here in Canada. We actually have some pretty incredible deposits of like different minerals and crystals. I mean, like like you say, just go for a walk, you'll find quartz veins and amethyst and labradorite. It's you know we got it all.
I'm
Yeah.
And with the
very
Rocky
jealous.
Mountains too, if you find spirituality in nature, the Rocky Mountains are like bar none, like phenomenal. And it is a spiritual experience to be there, in my opinion.
You've just reminded me of a show that I used to watch when I was younger, and I can't think of what it was called. And it was a bloke, and it was one of them Mounteers. Oh, what was that called? My
The
nan was
Canadian
obsessed.
Mounties, a show with the Mounties. Do you girls know?
I know exactly what you're thinking of, and for the life of me, I
Northern
can't.
Reflections? No, it's not Northern Reflections.
There was one that was like specific about one Mountie, and he was probably like late 20s, early 30s, good looking guy. He always wears like red Canadian outfit. I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, I can't think of what that's called. Come on,
Google
lady.
it.
I
One
haven't
of
thought about it for years. Hubby, what was that Mountie program called that Nana used to always watch? The program with the Mountie. The Mountie. Yeah, he had that hat on red. Lived in the Canadian mountains and he rode a horse. That's all I really remember.
Due South, I think was it.
Due
Well,
South? Due South?
Due south.
I think it was, yes, due south.
Yeah, we're due south.
Due South.
It is due south.
Oh, I was always so jealous of him living out in the mountains.
Oh,
I
it's beautiful.
I come from a farming family and I was like, can we not move there?
Aw.
Can we not live out in the mountains? Like even as a child, I knew that I was addicted to wilderness.
Mm.
Um,
We live in here. I think we all will probably admit to that.
Yeah, we are so lucky.
the only thing you have to run from though is the bears, I bet.
Yeah,
Cougars. Cougars.
both.
There's lots of cougars on Vancouver Island.
Is it really?
Oh, many, many. Yeah, very many.
You've got loads of nature. Oh, see, we only have the fen tiger, which is apparently a myth, but I have seen it. But apparently it's a myth.
Wow.
We're lucky here on the island too because we've got the Vancouver Island wolves. So I mean, there's wolves elsewhere in Canada, but those are unique to the island, and they are incredible. So
There are actually groups of wolves. They're called sea wolves, and they live. If you've heard of Tofino, British Columbia, it's a very well-known, world-renowned surfing town. And there are specific packs of wolves. Um, and I could be wrong. I could be mistaken, so don't quote me on this, but I believe that it's sort of specific to Vancouver Island, and that they aren't found elsewhere. But they live predominantly off of the ocean, what the ocean produces, or the
Mhm.
shore life. So they'll eat crab. They'll like dig into crabs or jellyfish or other types of sea life. And they eat seaweed as well, and that's not a typical not typical around the world. So it's pretty
Well,
fascinating, actually.
all our bears and wolves got hunted out over 600 years ago, so we don't have any here
Mm.
anymore. But
Aw.
that is strange you bring that up because actually, I'll be honest, two of them are my spirit guides. So I have a bear and a wolf.
Oh,
Spirit guides.
Mm.
Very maternal is the way I'm going to word it.
Mm.
So wow. So it's sort of like you guys are in a blessed place of haven to have such spirituality around you. Wow.
yeah.
Mhm.
Another animal that is, I guess, predatory in nature that we have an abundance of would be the eagle, the bald eagle.
Matt Zeus.
They- Yeah. Yeah, it's such, I do feel so blessed. I was raised in the prairies, which is central Canada, without mountains, without ocean. Um, and I have family there and I go back to visit and I enjoy my time. Um, and there's beauty there in different ways. But whenever I come back to Vancouver Island with the mountains, the ocean, the forests, like lushness and life, I do, I'm called back here and I do feel so blessed and fortunate to be able to call this my home. Yeah.
Oh, I love that because it is, because obviously with it being an island anyway, it's a bit like the UK, Britain. Um, I've got to quit Britain because it's not the UK, because the UK includes Northern Ireland, all these different terms we have for stuff. Um, Britain is surrounded by water, and that is
Mm,
such a key conductor in paranormal and spiritual.
Yes.
absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
love that.
I think that's why Vancouver Island is extremely active spiritually.
Well, it will be because they'll be trapped there because they
Mm-hmm.
can't pass to anywhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Oh,
all the courts and the mountains and everything. So,
Yeah,
this is a
Vancouver Island has unique structure with like the all the different types of rocks and minerals, like the shale and the quartz and all that. And like again with the ocean, we huge winds around here. Like we've pretty much had back-to-back windstorms. I mean, and then the history and the nature, like the list goes on. Like we're considered one of Canada's top um paranormal. And when I talk about the paranormal, not just spiritual, like UFOs, cryptozoology, like whatever you think of, you will find here.
wow. See, now that is amazing. Sorry, Lorianne.
I was going to say, interesting fact about Vancouver Island. It isn't actually a part of the Canadian. It's um, geological formation. It was actually called an arête, which is an island or a piece of land that's dislodged from somewhere and ends up wherever it ends up. And it collided with the West Coast, and that's partly how we got our mountains.
Hmm.
So who knows what that island has brought to the Canadian West Coast.
that's
Hey,
right.
as long as it
So,
hasn't come from the Bermuda Channel Triangle, you might be safe.
no, but
Uh,
that's the islands that around the world they're called arêtes, and they just, they
Move
end up,
around.
yeah.
we've
Like
got a
the idea that we're
few.
drifters.
I love that as well because I don't mean it rudely. It's sort of like that is what the paranormal are. We're drifters. We're drifting through, trying to find the truth, trying to. I don't think for me it's trying to find the truth. I hold my hands up. For me, it's I need to understand darkness because I go into all these houses and I dispel it from these houses. So I'm not having a conversation. This sounds really insane, right? Okay, guys, I do know. I'm not having a conversation with the darkness to understand it, if that makes sense. Um, so for me, I was for a little while stuck in this place of I know there's darkness, but I don't understand it because everyone's telling me it's demons, but
Mhm.
I can feel it's not demons. It's actually a human being. It was once upon a time a human being. So for me, it's sort of like trying to figure all this out, if that makes sense. Like I've sort of sat in this place where I'm like very, very disunderstanding of the darkness. Whereas now I'm like, I hold my hands up. I jump into darkness 2 feet now. I'm like, yeah, I'm so bright light, you can't take on me. And I jump in 2 feet and
Mm.
I'm like, let's have a conversation, shall we? Like when you meet someone and they're really famous and you're like really nervous at first, and you're like, and then all of a sudden you don't stop chatting. That's me with the darkness. That's where I've got like I was there. Now I'm like,
Bring it
let's
on.
yeah. I am so weird. One of my medium friends the other day, she was like, you do realize, Empress, that the darkness is now afraid of you.
Ah,
I'm like,
Mm.
perfect.
but I want chats with it.
Oh, I guess so.
So I'm going to these haunted places to try and learn about it more, but I can't. Don't get me wrong, I love it for my job, like getting rid of people's attachments and getting people lighter in their own energy and stuff like that. It's brilliant for my job,
Mhm.
but me actually learning about it, it's pretty difficult.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, come be our friends just for a day. She apparently, we were doing something the other day and she went, they've heard about you. And I was like, what? And when we went on one investigation, it actually come through the speaker box going Empress Sparkle. And I was like,
Wow.
well, we can't question that, can we? Because that's my stage name.
No. And when you think about Spirit Box and how quickly it's going through the channels, the radio frequencies to Empress Sparkle, that's 4 syllables, and to have that clearly come through is actually, again, that's so validating.
I think the worst thing for us was the fact it wasn't recorded. They like to do that sort of thing.
Yep. That's sometimes when you get the best evidence is when the devices are turned, or like, the recording devices are turned off.
I think I think that's our energy that they're giving. So for me, I had it happen even while I was in there on my own, because for me, my energy doesn't change because I'm like, you can't touch me. I know that. But I think when you turn the camera on, you're so apprehensive for something to happen. You're so desperate for something to happen. I think your
Mm.
energy sort of gives that
Mhm.
off. So they're like, you ain't gonna
It
do
repels
nothing.
them.
I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. Like I even find that when if you're by yourself or you're just with two people, the energy can be more concentrated. But when other people come into the room or more people show up or you have a larger group, it's too scattered. And so I find that it
It
doesn't work
dispels.
as well. It just
Yeah.
spells, yeah.
It does, and I think in a way they're just like, they're evil. They don't want to give you what you want. Let's
Yeah.
be honest, they don't want to give you what you want. Um, and this is the thing, like not every spirit that's stuck here is evil. I just need to correct that actually. But the main ones that can make the noises, can do the growls and stuff like that, which is the stuff that people catch, they're not going to want to be nice to you and go, yeah, I'm going to growl on camera for you.
Mhm.
They're going to make you want to feel insane. So when you haven't got the camera out and they can sense it, they're going to go, right, okay, this is time to play.
Mm.
And also,
Um,
like, I don't find the spirits respond well when they know they're being like treated like puppets, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and just to quickly touch base on the other comment about like I feel like, when you're with a small group, whether it's two people or a small group and you know them really well, you're going to be able to like focus, and that really that doesn't create a block. But when other people come in, like if you're worried about like certain personalities that maybe like are always like where ego is involved, or personalities like you don't know very well, you get into a very different state and that creates a block, and then you've got all these people together that's creating a block because of the different energies, and we don't know how we're going to work together. So that's what I find challenging with working with people sometimes.
no, I completely agree because you don't know how people are going to react. I've had it where I've literally had to tell someone, when I've been on a private investigation, I've had to tell someone to get out their own house.
Mm. Mhm.
I've literally said to them, you look, I can see that stood there. You can see that stood there. If you're going to carry on showing it fear, I'm not going to get rid of it. You've got a choice. You either carry on with me or get out your own house, or it
Mhm.
don't get cleared and I leave. And they've
Yeah.
Yep.
gone, what? Because Andrew, you're spot on, because her energy was saying, I'm still scared. I'm still this timid child in a corner. Whereas my energy's come in all boss energy. They're colliding. Our
Mhm.
energies are then colliding. And it's like this spirit's like, well, what am I meant to do? Which one do I pick on?
Mhm.
And I love that. It is so true. So, so true. Even when we're cleansing, It's so true. Like when we go in for a spirit cleanse, even mediumship, sometimes, like if I'm doing a mediumship and there's 3 or 4 people to 100, 150, the messages get confusing
Mm-hmm.
because I will have different spirits coming in for different people.
Yeah.
Um, and people are like, oh, well, you can do it as a collective. And I'm like, you can't because it's all done on energy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling the spirits in on your energy that's in the room. I'm calling us cards by the energy that's in the room.
Right.
So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
talked about that before when you're talking about the cards, about like, unfortunately, and I fall into it too, loving the group readings, being like, okay, I'm picking up like, water signs and air signs, and like this is your reading for all of you. And I love watching them, but I have a hard time believing that. But
It's so the collective, you cannot read for the collective. I know a lot of them do it to boost to boost their sales, to boost their things and stuff like this. And I know my sparklers are watching this going, she always tells us this. A lot of them, I've got a friend that does it who is one of my medium friends, and she'll come through to me and she'll say, oh, Empress, this is going on, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, right, okay, that's fine, sweet. And I know to believe her because I know she's real. And I know she's only doing a collective to keep her big up, and because she only does tarot reading and oracle reading.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for me personally, I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with it because I know you can't read that way. You have to have that person's energy. Um, it's a bit like the way people cleanse their cards is completely wrong. It's a bit like using tarot is more dangerous than actually using a Ouija board,
Mm.
which always shocks people. It's the one thing that Christians have right. I've got to give them something, but it is.
So, question for you, Empress. So, with tarot readings and stuff and a collective sort of reading, do you think that rather than, like obviously if you're doing a reading for someone individually, they have specific questions and you can speak to that with the readings. Do you think though that um a tarot card reader, for example, or oracle card reader, could do something, could ask a question without anyone else around, like any other client per se, about general like predictions about the world as a whole, like
Yeah.
the state of the world, or right now everyone's in a place of or not everyone, but I'll just generalize, but like
The darkness is winning.
we've had a dark year and lots of lessons learned, but I do predict 2026 will be brighter, like more general. Do you think that's possible, or is it always specific to the individual and what the cards are reading for them?
There's only 2 famous ones that I've seen come out, which are correct. So I will
Mm,
say that.
okay.
Yes, we can do it, and we can, and I won't deny that. But there is only 2 that I've seen come out, which are correct.
Okay.
But they're not that big because they're
Right.
telling you the truth. We're going into darker days.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The
So
darkness
very
is winning at
general.
the minute. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being cautious because I do my yearly cards and I do stuff for predictions for the next year, but I do know we're going into darker days.
Mm-hmm.
And there's only 2 other which have come out with the truth that we're most of the people have opened up to spirituality too late,
Yeah.
is the way I'm going to word it. Most of the people have realized that the people in power have caused the darkness too late, is the way I'm going to word it.
And I think there's a huge difference between talking about those types of topics as opposed to somebody going on to TikTok saying, okay, collective, you're this collective is going through a rough patch where you've got an avoidant ex who will be coming back in 24 hours, and your aunt's coming through to say, it'll be okay kind of thing, and this particular thing is going to happen. Like I feel there's a huge difference between those two types of things.
Massive, absolute massive, which I'm not actually sparklers. I will explain to you ladies afterwards if I remember. So please remember. I'm going to let you guys watch that when Andrea's podcast comes out, so you guys get to see that then, because I have commented on hers about all this. So I'll actually let you guys see that once Andrea's podcast's out in the new year, and you guys can actually watch it there. I hope you don't mind that, ladies, but I will remember to tell you guys once we're done. um, so yeah, no, completely agree. And again, tarot is energy. So tarot is energy. Everything is energy. The table's energy. And when people, we can actually prove that with science, funny enough. The momentum. So when you push something, you put momentum in it, you put an energy into it. So we actually can prove that with science, push and pull, and all that. And that is what I love about that sort of thing. The Big Bang Theory, when people sit there and I talk about chaos, that it's this beautiful little universe looking thing. You can sort of prove it with science. I know that sounds a bit insane, don't it? But you can.
No, not to
Um,
me.
this is the thing. I think this is a problem. I've hung around with too many scientist brain people, um, that sort of like made me go a bit like, hmm. So, my lovelies, who would like to do the statement out? Do you want to, Andrea?
Sure. Well, thank you again for having us on. It's always a great conversation, and it is interesting. It's interesting that we all have commonalities and different perspectives, and that's what I find really interesting. Like it helps us evolve, and I think thoughts being challenged is always a good thing. And I think when we can come together on certain ideas, it's a really great thing too. And that's definitely a perspective I always encourage. So I think it's been great. And I'm sorry my voice is starting to go.
No, I've noticed. Lovely, I've noticed. Thank you, sparklers, so much for watching. As I said, Andrea's links will all be down below. I know I said Andrea's podcast will be out in the new year, so will this. So technically they might be out at the same time. So do have a look, because if it's out, it'll be linked down below, and do check that out, because I let out a lot of tarot secrets in that. So if you think I did a massive drop in the one with Dava, that's nothing compared to what I've done in Andrea's. So
No.
do go and check that out. Thank you, ladies, again for joining me. Thank you so much. And don't forget, guys, keep sparkling.